Good afternoon and welcome everyone to this side event in the context of the 26th session of the Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Happy International Women's Day to all of you. My name is Miriam Gasser. I'm the head of advocacy at CBM Switzerland, and I'm also here representing the Swiss Disability and Development Consortium. I would like to start with some housekeeping rules. This session is being recorded and live streamed. International Sign Language interpretation is being provided. Live captions are also available for this event. Click the closed captions button at the bottom of your screen or click on the external link provided in the chat box. We don't have a questions and answer session scheduled for this side event. However, if you do have questions for the panelists, please write them in the chat box. The purpose of today's side event is to launch a Photovoice study on the situation of women with disabilities in Nepal. We are honored to have with us today Mrs. Gertrude Feofame, member of the Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and chair of the committee's new working group on women and girls with disabilities. Getty will make some opening remarks. Thank you for joining us today, and over to you, Getty.
Thank you, Miriam. I'm Gertrude Feofame from Ghana, and honored to make these remarks on a special day and this special occasion. My life, my reality, Photovoice today exhibition launch. First of all, I would like to wish all of us a happy International Women's Day. This is a time to reflect how far we have come and what needs to be done to ensure meaningful inclusion of all women with disabilities, including those with disabilities in our societies. Across the globe, many women and girls face discrimination on the basis of their gender. However, the situation is worsened for women and girls with disabilities as they continue to face persistent, multiple, and intersectional discrimination on the basis of not only the gender, but disability. This situation may further be worsened if there are indigenous, refugees, migrants, in rural settings, name them. This is why the theme for today's International Day, Breaking the Bias, resonates so strongly. As we already know, compared with men with disabilities, globally, women with disabilities are 3 times more likely to have unmet need for healthcare, 3 times more likely to be illiterate, 2 times less likely to be employed, and 2 times less likely to use the internet. Now, in addition, women and girls with disabilities experience higher rates of gender-based violence, sexual abuse, neglect, exploitation, and maltreatment than women and girls without disability. To overcome these challenges, legislation such as the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, CRPD, addresses the rights of women and girls with disabilities, adopting a twin-track approach. On one hand, it includes a specific article on women and girls with disabilities, Article 6. On the other, it refers to us in the general principles, other substantive articles, and general comments. Article 6 recognizes that women and girls with disabilities are subjected to multiple discrimination and requires states to adopt measures to ensure their full and equal enjoyment of rights, as well as full development and advancement and empowerment. In spite of the fact that these provisions have resulted some gains over the period, challenges still persist. The impact of the COVID-19 pandemic has intensified the overlapping barriers faced by women and girls with disabilities. These are some of the reasons that necessitated the re-establishment of the Working Group of Women and Girls with Disabilities by the CRD Committee. We hope the working group can work collaboratively with selected UN treaty bodies, such as the Expert Committee on the Convention on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW, identify UN agencies, representative organizations and committees of women and girls with disabilities, and other stakeholders in ensuring that the voices of women and girls with disabilities are heard and also included. State must systematically mainstream the interests and rights of women and girls with disabilities in across all action plans, and also in specific strategies and policies concerning women, children, and persons with disabilities. Thus, no woman, including women and girls with disabilities, is left behind. Before I bring my remarks to a close, on this important day, my loudest applause goes to women and girls with disabilities in Nepal and around the world who, despite the challenges, discrimination and stigma faced, are pushing back and breaking the glass ceiling in various sectors, including politics, art, law, farming, business, count them. Thank you for inspiring all of us to work hard. Thank you that we will break the barriers. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gary, for your opening remarks. I would like now to turn over to Nepal and to Meena Paudel, Secretary General from the Nepal Disabled Women Association, one of the organizations of persons with disabilities who were involved in the Photovoice project. Meena has prepared a video message for us.
Namaste to all. I am Meena Paudel from Nepal Disabled Women Association. I am co-founder and now serving as a General Secretary. Namaste to all. I am Meena Paudel from Nepal Disabled Women Association. I am co-founder and now serving as a General Secretary. Namaste.
Please bear with us for a minute. We're having some technical issues, but we hope to be able to resolve them shortly. We hope to be able to resolve them shortly.
Namaste to all. I am Meena Paudel from Nepal Disabled Women Association. I am co-founder and now serving as a General Secretary. It's my honor to be a part of this online CRPD side event to launch to all the Photovoice study. From Nepal Our organization was one of four Nepali organizations of persons with disability involved in this study. To be a part of this women with disabilities in Nepal are not vulnerable as compared to study without disability. Our organization was they are facing multiple barriers and organization, not only because they are women, but it's my honor to be a part of this women with disabilities in Nepal Nepal are women with disabilities are less likely to access formal education, facing multiple barriers achieve higher level education because they are women. It's my honor to be a illiteracy rates are higher for women with disabilities are less likely to access.
We are really sorry that we do have some technical issues with the video of Mina. So really sorry about this. We suggest that we are moving on and we'll try to have Mina's video on later on. I would now like, therefore, to turn over to my colleague Chantal from CDM Switzerland, who will present the Photovoice project and methodology. Chantal, over to you.
Thank you, Miriam. Hello and happy International Women's Day to everyone. I'm speaking on behalf of the Swiss Disability and Development Consortium, which includes CBM Switzerland, FairMed, Handicap International Switzerland, and the International Disability Alliance. The SDDC is a Swiss-based network advocating for the rights and inclusion of persons with disabilities in Swiss international cooperation. Within the context of the CRPD review of Switzerland, the SDDC commissioned a Photovoice study to the University of Bern in Switzerland to examine the situation of women with disabilities in Nepal. The study, which will shortly be presented by the lead researcher, focuses on the barriers and enablers to political, economic, and social inclusion. I would like to begin by showing you a video of one of the participants in this project who is describing one of the pictures she took.
यो फोटो चाहिँ मेरो हाम्रो संस्थाको के अध्यक्ष हुनुहुन्छ उहाँलाई चाहिँ म सेकेन्ड मदर भन्छु उहाँले गर्दा नै म आज यो ठाउँमा छु जति मेरो समाजमा इज्जत छ जति मेरो समाजमा इज्जत छ जति म आज जान्ने बुझ्ने भएको छु आज म यो ठाउँमा आएको छु अपाङ्गता भएको आदिवासी महिलाहरूको एउटा आवाज बन्न पाएको छु सबै उहाँले गर्दा भएको हो उहाँले चाहिँ मलाई धेरै कुरामा हेल्प गर्नुभएको छ म काठमाडौँमा आएर म अलमलमा परेको मान्छेलाई म यो गर्छु त्यो गर्छु भन्ने केही पनि सोच नभएको मान्छेलाई उहाँले दोहोऱ्याइ लिएर आज मलाई यहाँसम्म पुर्याउनु भएको छ उहाँलाई चाहिँ एकदमै मेरो मनदेखि नै एकदमै धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद दिन चाहन्छु
Ganga was one of 10 women with disabilities from Nepal who participated in this Photovoice project. As the first step of this approach, the 10 women were selected via 4 Nepali organizations of persons with disabilities who were closely involved in this project. The selected women then participated in a photography workshop where they received basic photography skill training and information on how they can use photography as a means to express themselves. One of the pictures here shows the women participating in the workshop. After the workshop, the women went back to their homes and were given 3 weeks to document their experiences via photographs they took with mobile phones. These photographs then formed the basis of in-depth interviews with the researchers. Research participants were asked to choose the 4 most important photos from which they could share their stories, experiences, and perspectives. One of the photos here shows a selection of photos one woman took, of which 4 were prioritized for the discussion with the researchers. After the data collection phase, the researchers analyzed the data and produced the study, which is officially being launched today. By encouraging participants to talk about the issues that are relevant to them, Photovoice provides the opportunity to see the world through their eyes and allows outsiders to gain insights into local realities. The study is accompanied by a photography exhibition entitled My Lens, My Reality, which was inaugurated this morning at the Palais des Nations in Geneva. The exhibition features portraits of the 10 women, along with 2 photographs they took themselves and accompanying quotes. The exhibition and study were also launched today during an event at the Swiss Embassy in Kathmandu, Nepal. For those in Geneva, we invite you to visit the exhibition, which will be on display until March 18th. And for everyone else, the exhibition is also available online on our consortium's website as of today. Please see the link in the chat box. Thank you.
Thank you, Chantal, for giving us an overview on the project and the methodology. I would now like to give the floor to Dr. Christine Bigler from the Interdisciplinary Center on Gender Studies at University of Bern, Switzerland. Christine will present the results, findings, as well as recommendations of the study. Thank you, Christine, for being with us today. Over to you. Christine, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Good.
Yes.
Great. So let's try again. Good. Thank you very much, Miriam, for this introduction. I'm very happy and pleased to be here today and to present you the results of the Photovoice study, Barriers and Enablers to Social, Economical and Political Inclusion of Women with Disabilities in Nepal. I carried out this study together with Dr. Soni KC from the Kathmandu University and my colleague Jamila Pita. First, as already Chantal introduced, the research questions was, what are the barriers and enablers to social, economical and political inclusion of women with disability in Nepal? On the left side, you see a graph with 3 circles. Each of the circles represents a dimension of inclusion, the economical, the social, and the political. And already here we see that these 3 dimensions actually go into each other, are interlinked somehow. And this graph will accompany us throughout the results, which I'm going to present. Now I would like to step into this results part. I will first start with the underlying factors which hinders or enables women actually to participate in these 3 spheres. And then I go deeper to the social, and economical sphere. Where are there the enabler and barriers? First, I would show you the underlying factors. These underlying factors actually influence the access and inclusion in all 3 spheres. On the left side, you see again the graph with the 3 dimension and the arrow which point actually to this graph. And then you see the underlying factors. We have found in the data 4 underlying factors which actually hinders the inclusion in the social, political, and economic dimension. These are multiple instances of discrimination and stigmatization, disability-related extra costs, lack of accessibility, and self-confidence. Now I would like to go deeper into these underlying factors. First, to stigmatization and multiple discrimination. Women with disabilities face multiple instances of discrimination and stigmatization throughout their lives, and also on different scale. We see discrimination and stigmatization in household, community, but also on national scales. The main factor of stigmatization and discrimination is the disability itself. There are other social categories like gender, age, belonging to a minority community. They also affect actually the stigmatization, but the disability itself is the main stigmatization factors. Here I would like to speak out a quote. A researcher asked, "What do you think is the main reason for the discrimination you faced? Was it your role as a daughter, as a person with disability, or as a member of an indigenous community?" "It is my disability," was the response. Now I would like to look at the underlying factor of lack of accessibility. We found different lacks of accessibility. There is a lack of accessibility in terms of education because of the stigmatization and discrimination, but there is also lack of accessibility in daily living aids, in infrastructure, and also in quality healthcare. The data showed actually that women with disability have the need for daily living aids and also for quality healthcare. And these factors actually leads to disability-related extra costs. These extra costs are also a burden actually for the household and pressures on the budget of the household where the women with disability lives. The fourth underlying factor is the lack of self-confidence. Many of the women told us that lack of self-confidence hinders them actually to the inclusion in the political, social, and economic life. I would also like to spell out this quote. "In terms of barriers, the fact that I was not confident enough to speak out loud and to tell the society that this was nothing but an illness was one. I wasn't fearless then. I also couldn't work, and that was tough. But added to that was my financial difficulty. It was difficult to having financial stability." Here we see also the interrelation between self-confidence, work, and financial stability. Now I would like actually to close these underlying factors and show you more about the economical inclusion of women with disability. On the right side, you see a picture of a woman working in a shop. She is sewing, she has a sewing machine and is working. All women we interviewed reported that their economical situation is precarious. Many of them actually are depending financially on other household members. It's very difficult for them to have access to the formal labor market. Even when women with disability are very well skilled and educated, they have difficulties actually to find a job in the formal labor market. Even it's difficult to find a job in the informal labor market for them. So they are actually pushed into self-employment, which means they open up their own business. Here I would also like to show you a quote. "After going through all those struggles, finding a paid employment, I started this. Now I don't want or need to go around and looking for a job. Now I can actually give jobs to person. So now I'm independent." Now the question is, what are enablers actually to the economical inclusion? We found that skills training is an enabler to the economic inclusion, but it's related actually to financial support. As I discussed before, women with disability are pushed into entrepreneurship, so they need skills training, but they need also financial support and also access to information, how to open up our own business. And they need access to market. If they are have their own business, they need the access to the market to have actually a sustainable economic income. They also need supportive communities and environments. Now I would like to go over to the social inclusion, which is also linked actually to economical inclusion. The data showed that women with disability are marginalized member of society. They face a lot of social stigma and exclusion. Often they have one close person which going through with them through their life. It could be the husband, a friend, an OPD member, or a social worker. This person is very important. They have, unfortunately, few friendships, most of them. And one factor which is very important also for the social inclusion is the lack of accessibility. We saw this already in the underlying factors. On the right side, you see a picture of a peer group. They are sitting 8 women and men together and actually exchange about their experience. Peer groups are actually an enabler to social inclusion. Now I would like actually to come back to the lack of friendships or the few friendships the women with disability has and the relation to lack of accessibility in terms of infrastructure. I would like to speak out one of the quotes. This women told us, sometimes I go to meet them, my friends. I like to stay at home most of the time. Mostly I get in touch with them through social media. They call me to meet and relax, but I can't go there because they have stairs. So what are actually enablers for social inclusion? We saw that economic inclusion is an enabler for social inclusion. Women which are successful, economic included, which have maybe their own business, they are also more social included. So we see that a strong relationship. Also, mobile phones are very important for the social inclusion. If there are in accessibility or in terms of an infrastructure, mobile phone actually can help to keep in touch. Accessibility of infrastructure, I already were talking about. It's important actually that they can access their friends and be social included. But also OPD peer groups are important for social inclusion. Many of the women told us that they can gain some strength out of these peer groups. I would like to give some words to the result of the political inclusion. Women didn't speak a lot actually about their political inclusion during the interviews. They told us there is actually a lack of resources from their side in time, money, and also in terms of information to be really political included. They have also a high distrust in political actors. Here, I would also like to spell out the quote. If the people see me and say they will do something for me, they will forget as soon as they reach the level of power. I'm aware of the complexities of politics, but I just don't trust political settings. This is a quote which should actually reflect the distrust against political actors. But what are enablers to include women with disability in the political sphere? Enablers, we found, or the data show that enablers are OPDs, because on the level of OPDs, we see some activism, and we see also that through OPDs, self-confidence and communication skills can be trained. Self-confidence and communication skills are needed actually to act in the political sphere. And also the presence of role models to identify within politics are very important. So what is the role of OPDs, of Organization of Persons with Disability, for these women which we interviewed? All women were related to OPDs. So OPDs actually plays a role in all of these women we have interviewed. The role of OPDs are on one side in awareness raising. They give access to information, which is very crucial for that they know about their basic rights and about the disability allowance. OPDs are also places of networking, of peer groups, but they also provide women with disability with access to skills training and also with access to health treatment and resources. We also asked women what is the role of the government in their life. And mostly they answered that the disability allowance is actually the main point where they get in touch actually with governmental institutions. but they also spelled out that the disability allowance is too low and insufficient actually to cover their basic needs. All in all, actually, the women with disability, they had very low expectation around the government institutions. I would go over to a next topic and few further results. It's the topic of gender-based violence. The topic of gender-based violence was not in the focus of our study and was also none of our research questions. But the data shows that gender-based violence is a big issue for women with disabilities. Several experiences violence are particularly also sexual violence. Women with disability, especially from marginalized group, are on high risk actually of violence. And also sometimes they have no or limited access to justice. On the right side, we see a picture of a class of self-defenders. We see different women which are training self-defenders. Also here, I would like to show you a quote. There has been a lot of violence against women. One example being raped. I'm an indigenous woman and I have also low vision. I and others alike have no access to anything, neither to education nor to justice. And it's worse for us, as we are already marginalized. We have to face injustice just because of our background and the fact that we are women. I don't know whose problems are bigger than these ones we face. Now I would like to close here the results part and go over to the conclusion. The results show that the women with disabilities faced stigmatization and multiple discrimination on different levels, household, community, and national level. This is also an underlying factor to the inclusion in all three spheres. Also, accessibility is a main factor actually which hinders women to participate in all three spheres. The economic participation is mostly in the informal sector, mostly through self-employment, through entrepreneurship. Social and economical inclusion are tightly linked. We saw that women which are economically successful are also more social included. The political participation is low, and OPDs are important actors in the life of these women. We saw also that women with disability are at the risk for sexual and gender-based violence. Linked to this conclusion and to the results, we made the recommendations, and we clustered the recommendations in 4 clusters. First one, addressing multiple forms of discrimination. Second, establishing access to employment and entrepreneurship. Third, enhancing confidence and building social inclusion. And fourth, ensuring accessibility of infrastructure and information. I would now stick actually to the second recommendation cluster because of time, and establishing access to employment and entrepreneurship. Here we have written down 4 recommendations. The first one is to promote the employment for women with disability within the private and public sector. The second one, train employers to apply disability inclusive and gender sensitive employment practices and recognize the talent and skills of women with disability. The third one, provide accessible, relevant and quality skills training to women with disability. And the fourth one, provide information, financial support like seed money, follow-up trainings like financial literacy and saving, and linkages to market for entrepreneurship. If you would like to know more about the recommendation and the study, please read the whole study. And I thank you for your attendance.
Thank you so much, Christine, for presenting these findings to us. We will now try again to have the video message by Meena Paudel, Secretary General from the Nepal Disabled Women Association, one of the organizations of persons with disabilities who were involved in this project, to be displayed. And we hope it works. Unfortunately, it seems that we are actually unable to display Mina's video. We will therefore put it on our website of the consortium, and please have a look and check it there. I'm really sorry about that. I would like to close the meeting by sharing a few reflections on why we as the SDDC commissioned this study and of its relevance to our work. The SDDC is closely following the review of Switzerland under the CRPD, which is taking place next week. Our consortium has also submitted an alternative report to the committee. We call for an inclusive Swiss development cooperation, which leaves no one behind, including women with disabilities. As Christine presented, the recommendations for the study are relevant for a variety of stakeholders, including development cooperation partners. Nepal is a priority country for Swiss international cooperation, as is the thematic area of gender equality. The SDDC calls for the full and active participation of persons with disabilities through all processes affecting them, including in Switzerland's international cooperation. Arrangements should be made to enable persons with disabilities and women with disabilities in particular to participate and have a voice on a design and implementation of strategies and programs which will ultimately impact their lives. Furthermore, as Christine presented, there's a big gap in data available on women with disabilities in Nepal. We encourage Switzerland to systematically collect and disaggregate data on disability in its international programs, because what isn't counted doesn't count. Lastly, we call on Switzerland to adopt a holistic approach to its work on disability inclusion. It needs overarching guidelines to inform its work on inclusion of persons with disabilities in international cooperation. The guidelines must be adequately resourced with personnel and budget. We hope that this study and its recommendation will foster action by development cooperation actors and others to ensure that women with disabilities are no longer left behind and that their rights are guaranteed. We also invite you to take action by sharing information about the study and exhibition widely. We have provided the link to the study as well as the website in a chat box. We thank you all for your attention and wish you a good International Women's Day. Thank you for joining us and have a great day.